Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 15 NFL predictions. So last week, I had a record of 10-6, and that brings my record on the season to 165-75. Kicking things off with the games we have on Wednesday or Christmas. And by the way, Merry Christmas to all you guys watching. And if you guys don't celebrate Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever holiday you do celebrate. But beginning with the Chiefs at the Steelers. So this is a huge game. The Chiefs, they're 14-1, and the Steelers, they're 10-5. The Chiefs, they can clinch the top seed in the AFC this week with a win. And the Steelers, they need to keep winning to stay atop the AFC North with the Ravens right behind them. But the Steelers' offense is pretty good, scoring 23.5 points a game, although the Steelers' offense has not been playing well recently, averaging just 19 points per game over their last 3 games. And over that 3 game stretch, they've been without receiver George Pickens, but luckily for the Steelers, Pickens is set to return this week. Then the Steelers, they face a great Chiefs defense that is third best in the NFL, allowing 18.5 points a game. Then on the flip side, the Chiefs are scoring 23.7 points a game, and they match up against a great Steelers defense that is allowing 19.9 points per game. But this is a game that could really go either way. I can definitely understand taking the Steelers to get the win because they're home, but I'm going to take the Chiefs to get the win. They're actually coming off a game last week where they actually didn't get extremely lucky to win. They've looked pretty good over the past few weeks, and I'm going to take the Chiefs to get the win. They always find a way to win, and I'm going to take the Chiefs by a score of 23-21. Next game, we have the Ravens at the Texans. So this is another interesting game. The Ravens, they're playing pretty well, and coming in off a big win over the Steelers, and they don't face the Texans team sitting at 9-6. The Ravens' offense is great, scoring 30.1 points per game, which ranks third best in the NFL, and they face the Texans' defense that's pretty good, allowing 21.8 points per game. And on the flip side, the Texans are scoring 23.1 points per game, although they'll be without receiver Tank Dell, who suffered a season-ending knee injury last week. And the Texans, they struggle to protect the quarterback, having allowed 47 sacks on the season, which is fifth most. And they do not match up well against the Ravens' defense, that has 47 sacks on the year, which is second most. Plus, the Ravens' defense is playing well, allowing just 19 points per game in their last 5 games. But I'm going to go with the Ravens to get the win. I think their offense plays pretty well. Their defense continues to play well. They keep CJ Stroud under constant pressure, and the Ravens win 24-16. Moving on to Thursday Night Football, we have the Seahawks at the Bears. So the Seahawks, they've fallen behind in the NFC West as they're 8-7, which is a game behind the Rams, and they need to get back on track after back-to-back losses. But I think they should be able to do that as they face a Bears team that is pretty bad at 4-11. The Bears, they've also lost 9 games in a row. The Seahawks offense is scoring 22.6 points per game, and they face a Bears defense that is allowing 22.8 points per game, although the Bears, they've struggled defensively as of late, allowing over 30 points in each of their last 3 games. And on the other side, the Bears offense is terrible, scoring 18.9 points a game, and they face an up and down Seahawks defense, allowing 22.7 points per game. But I think the Seahawks get the win. They get back on track against a terrible Bears team. Their losing streak continues, and Seahawks get the win by a score of 26-18. Moving to the games on Saturday, beginning with the Chargers at the Patriots. So the Chargers, they're going to win off a big win over the Broncos, and they don't sit in the 6th seed in the AFC, and they can actually clinch a playoff spot this week with a win or losses by the Colts and Dolphins. But the Chargers offense is scoring 21.9 points per game, and they face a decent Patriots defense, allowing 24.1 points a game, and they were pretty good last week, holding the Bills to 24 points. On the other side, the Patriots offense is not good, as they're the third worst scoring offense in the NFL, putting up just 17.3 points per game, although Drake May has been playing pretty well. But the Patriots offense, they face a Chargers defense that is the number 1 defense in the NFL, allowing 18.3 points per game. But the Chargers, they're the better team here. I don't think the Patriots would do a ton offensively against a great defense, and I've got the Chargers getting the win and clinching a playoff spot, winning by a score of 24-13. Next game, also on Saturday, we have the Broncos at the Bengals. So this is a massive game for the AFC wildcard race. The Broncos, they currently have the 7th seed at 9-6, and the Bengals, they're in the 10th seed at 7-8. And the Bengals, they do have a small chance to get into the playoffs, but they will need to win out and the Broncos to lose out, and a couple other things to happen. But the Broncos, they will actually clinch a playoff spot this week with a win, and that would eliminate the Bengals. But this is a really interesting matchup, as the Bengals, they're elite offensively, as they're 6th in the NFL, scoring 28.2 points per game, and they have the league's top passing offense, throwing for 267 passing yards per game. but they match up against a Broncos defense that is fourth, allowing 18.7 points per game, and they're middle of the pack against the pass, allowing 219 passing yards per game. On the flip side, the Broncos offense is scoring 24.2 points a game, and they face an awful Bengals defense that is allowing 26.2 points per game. But this is a game that can definitely go either way. I can see the Bengals scoring against tough defense, and I can see them getting the win, but I can also see the Broncos defense slowing down the Bengals offense, and the Broncos offense having a good game against a bad defense. But this game is a true coin flip, and I think this is going to be a great game that could really go either way. But I just don't think the Bengals defense is good enough. I've got the Broncos to get the win by a score of 28-27. Next game, we have the Rams hosting the Cardinals, and this is our final game on Saturday. So the Cardinals, they're 7-8, although they've been eliminated from playoff contention after they lost to the Panthers last week. And they face a Rams team that is 9-6, and can actually clinch the NFC West this week with a win and a Seahawks loss. The Rams offense is scoring 21.9 points per game, and the Cardinals defense is allowing 22.8 points per game. Although the Cardinals, their defense just allowed 36 to the Panthers last week. And the Cardinals offense is solid, putting up 22.9 points a game, and the Rams defense is allowing 23.1 points per game. But I do have the Rams getting the win in this game. I just don't think the Cardinals will play that well now that they have nothing to play for, and I'm going to go with the Rams by a score of 24-20. Moving to the games on Sunday, beginning with the Colts at the Giants. So the Colts, they have a chance to make the playoffs, as they're the first team out in the AFC, sitting at 7-8, and then they'll face a terrible Giants team. As the Giants, they're just 2-13, and they've lost a franchise record 10 games in a row. The Colts offense is scoring 21.2 points per game, and coming off a great game against the Titans, where they put up 38. The Colts also have a great run game, rushing for 135 yards, and last week Jonathan Taylor ran for well over 200. The Giants defense is allowing 24.1 points a game, and they cannot stop the run, allowing 142 rushing yards per game and 4.8 yards per carry, both those among fifth worst in the NFL. And on the flip side, the Giants offense is awful, scoring 14.3 points per game, and they'll be starting Drew Lock at quarterback once again. And the Colts defense isn't very good, allowing 23.9 points per game, but I don't really think that makes a huge difference, considering how bad the Giants are on offense. But the Colts, they should dominate this game. I think Jonathan Taylor has another big game. The Colts run the ball extremely effectively, and the Colts win easily 31-10. Up next, we have the Jets at the Bills. The Bills, they're coming off a less than impressive win over the Patriots, where they won 24-21, but they face another bad team as they face the Jets, who are 4-11. Bills' offense is second best in the NFL, putting up 31.3 points per game, and the Jets' defense is solid, allowing 22.9 points per game, although they haven't been playing that well recently, allowing 27 points per game in their last 6. Then on the flip side, the Jets' offense is bad, scoring under 20 points per game, and the Bills' defense is allowing 19.9 points per game. But the Bills, they're the much better team here. They're home as well, and I don't really think this game's that close. Bills win easily 30-14. Moving on, we have the Raiders at the Saints. So this game is going to be pretty bad. The Raiders, they're 3-12, and actually coming off a win last week, although that probably is a bad thing because it knocks them from the number 1 pick all the way down to, I believe, the 6th pick. And the Saints, they were blown out by the Packers last week, and they're sitting at 5-10. Neither team is very good. The Raiders, they're scoring 17.6 points per game and allowing 26 points per game, while the Saints are scoring 20.6 points per game and allowing 23.1 points per game. But neither team is good, and because of that, this game can really go either way. The Saints, they're home and they're the slightly better team, so I'll take them to get the win by a score of 20-17. Next game, we got the Panthers at the Buccaneers. So this is a big game for the Buccaneers, because after they lost to the Cowboys last week, they're now in must-win territory for the rest of the season. And they have 2 very winnable games left in their schedule, as they play the Panthers and Saints. But the Buccaneers, they play a Panthers team this week that is 4-11, although the Panthers, they've actually looked pretty good as of late. And they beat the Cardinals last week. The Buccaneers' offense is good, scoring 28.5 points per game, which ranks 5th, and the Panthers have the league's worst scoring defense, allowing 29.9 points per game. On the flip side, the Panthers' offense is scoring 18.9 points per game, although they've showed promise as of late, and they face the Buccaneers' defense that's not the greatest, allowing 23.5 points a game. Now, when these teams met the first time, they went to overtime, and the Buccaneers won 26-23. I think this game will be pretty close once again, and I think this is going to be a higher scoring game, as both teams playing pretty well on offense, and neither team very good defensively. But I just don't think the Panthers have the offense to keep up with the Buccaneers, and I've got the Bucs with the win by a score of 31-26. Next game, we have the Titans at the Jaguars. So this is another game between two bad teams, as both these teams are 3-12. The Jaguars, they just lost to the Raiders last week, and the Titans, they lost to the Colts. Both these teams are bad offensively and might be starting their backup quarterbacks. As the Jaguars, they're scoring 18.5 points per game, and they're starting Mac Jones, while the Titans are scoring 18.9 points per game, and they'll be sticking with Mason Rudolph. Now, while neither offense is good, neither defense is very good either, as these are two of the four worst scoring defenses in the NFL, with the Titans allowing 27.8 points per game, and the Jaguars allowing 26.4 points per game. But this is a game that could really go either way, considering how bad both teams are on both sides of the ball. But I'm going to take the Jaguars to get the win. They're home, and that's really my reasoning for this game. I have no idea who's going to win. Both teams are just awful, but I'll take the Jaguars 23-21. Moving on, we have the Eagles hosting the Cowboys. So I think this could be an interesting game. The Cowboys, they've been eliminated from playoff contention, although they won last week against the Buccaneers, and they've been playing pretty well, winning 4 of their last 5 games. Then for the Eagles, they had their 10-game winning streak snapped last week with a loss to the Commanders, and that loss makes the Eagles less likely to get the NFC's top seed. Plus, in that game, the Eagles got banged up at the quarterback position, as Jalen Hurts suffered a concussion, and backup quarterback Kenny Pickett was also injured. Now, because I'm making this video on Tuesday, I have no idea what the quarterback situation for the Eagles looks like, but while quarterback injury is big for most teams, it's still big for the Eagles, but not quite as big, because the Eagles, they have a great run game to lean on, as they're rushing for 187 yards per game, which is best in the NFL, and they face a Cowboy defense that's allowing 26.9 points per game, and they cannot stop the run, allowing 4.8 yards a carry and 135 rushing yards per game. So I think Saquon Barkley have a huge game for the Eagles. On the flip side, the Cowboys' offense has actually been pretty good, scoring 27.4 points a game over their last 5. And they now face an Eagles defense that is good, allowing 18.9 points a game in the season, although the Eagles defense struggled last week, allowing a season-high 36 points. But this is a game that I think is going to be a lot closer than expected. The Cowboys, they're playing well. The Eagles had their winning streak snapped. I do think the Eagles will get the win. I think they'll be able to run the ball effectively, and I've got the Eagles 21-19. And that's if Jalen Hurts doesn't play, and obviously I still have the Eagles if Jalen Hurts plays, just they'll win by more. Moving on, we have the Dolphins at the Browns. The Dolphins, they're 7-8, and they're a couple games out of a playoff spot in the AFC, and there's still a chance they make it. But they will need to win out. That starts with beating a Browns squad that's 3-12. The Dolphins' offense is playing well, scoring 26 points per game in their last 7 games, and the Browns' defense is bad, allowing 25.3 points per game. Then offensively for the Browns, they're not good, scoring just 16.3 points a game, and they will likely be starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback once again, and last week he was not good, throwing for 157 yards and 2 interceptions. And he now faces a Dolphins defense that's solid, allowing 21.9 points per game. But the Dolphins, they're the much better team here. This is essentially a must-win game for them, and even though they're not great in the month of December, they're much better than the Browns, and the Dolphins win easily 24-10. Next game, we have the Packers at the Vikings. So this is a huge game. The Vikings, they're 13-2, and they have a real chance at the NFC's top seed, although they have a really tough final 2 games, as they face the Packers and the Lions. The Packers, they're 11-4, and they can't win the division, and the best they can get is the 5 seed. But this should be a great game. The Packers' offense is scoring 27.5 points per game, and they've scored at least 30 points in 5 straight games. But they match up against an elite Vikings defense that is number 2 scoring defense in the NFL, allowing 18.4 points per game. On the flip side, the Vikings offense is scoring 26.4 points per game, and Sam Darnold is playing well with 9 touchdowns in his last 3 games. But Darnold and the Vikings offense faced the Packers defense that's allowing 19.1 points per game, which is 6th best. Plus, they just got the first shutout of the season last week as they shut out the Saints. But this is a very tough game to predict. When the first time these teams met, the Vikings won 31-29. I think this will be a similar game. The Vikings are home here. I'm going to take them to get the win. Sam Darnold is playing well, so is their defense. And I've got the Vikings beating the Packers by a score of 27-24, but this game can definitely go either way. Up next, we have the Falcons at the Commanders on Sunday Night Football. So we will have a live watch for this game starting at about 8:15 Eastern Time on Sunday, so I hope to see you guys there. But this is a huge game for the NFC playoff race. The Falcons, they're 8-7, and they currently lead the NFC South after the Buccaneers lost to the Cowboys last week. And the Falcons, they can actually clinch the division this week with a win and a Bucs loss. Then for the Commanders, they're 10-5, and coming off a big win over the Eagles, and they will clinch a playoff spot this week with a win. The Commanders' offense is great, scoring 28.8 points per game, which ranks 4th. And they face the Falcons' defense that's not the greatest, allowing 23.3 points per game. And on the flip side, the Falcons are scoring 21.8 points per game, and Michael Penix Jr. will make his second career start. And in his debut, he was solid with 202 yards and an interception. And the Falcons, they face the Commanders' defense that's allowing 23.2 points per game. But I think this is going to be a good game. I think both rookie quarterbacks will play pretty well, but I think Jayden Daniels outplays Michael Penix Jr., and I've got the Commanders with the win by a score of 28-23 and clinching a playoff spot. And our final game, we have the Lions at the 49ers on Monday Night Football. So we will also have live watch for this game starting at about 8:15 Eastern Time on Monday, so again, I hope to see you guys there. The 49ers, they've been eliminated from playoff contention, and then face the Lions team that's 13-2. They're arguably the best team in the NFL, and they're trying to get the top seed in the NFC. The Lions offense is the best scoring offense in the NFL, putting up about 33 points per game. And the 49ers defense is having a massively disappointing season, allowing 23.3 points a game. Then on the flip side, the 49ers are scoring 22.1 points a game, and the Lions are allowing 19.9 points per game, although they're very banged up on the defensive side of the ball. But the 49ers, they're not playing well, having lost 5 of their last 6 games, and the one win in that stretch is against the Bears. But the Lions, they're playing really well, and I think to win this game fairly easily by a score of 31-20. Well, those are my Week 17 NFL predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible. Be sure to check out the community tab of my channel, where you guys can vote on who you think will win some of this week's big games. But that's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible. Happy holidays to all you guys watching, and I will see you in the next video.